If you fail to work, if you
Mhm.
fail to do the work of God or the work you're placed here to do today, you would, you may very well
Mhm.
do far worse than committing a sin.
Mhm.
And boy, I think that's I think that's I've taken that message to heart,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
um, I get along really well with my Amish brethren in my community.
I can believe that. Hello, I'm Bill Johnson, the founder of American Decency Association, and it's really my great pleasure today to have really a longtime friend, John Llewellyn, with me. John was the first state director, state, I should say, representative that really I ever had that I just realized right away he was the real deal. He cared about people, he cared about the state, and he was a Christian as well. And so we've already been doing some wonderful visiting here. And I just am thankful that we will have this opportunity to continue. Welcome, my friend, John Llewellyn.
Thank you, Bill. Before we proceed, I want to tell you how much you are respected in our home. You and Jan, the work you have done. Uh, it's it's humbling to be with you, uh, because I know that you have been a stalwart for the good, and can I use the word decent things in our community, in our lives. You've been a voice for many people who have no voice, and we commend you for your service to all of us.
Thank you so much, John. Those words just touch me more deeply than you probably even can realize, but thank you so much. John, as we have had experience together when you were serving as our representative, I think it was 100th district at that time,
Hmm.
um, I began to see really early on that you just you took to heart the things that were said of people that were in your district. And we were working at that time very closely on trying to pass legislation that would regulate sex shops. And so it was really quite a ride that we were on. And so much could be said. I'm not going to dwell on that at all. But in your years of work there, I'd like to just start with that in those years, in even the years shortly thereafter. Um, what were some of the things that were most difficult for you as a state rep that took your role so seriously?
Well, um, you know, I was interviewed for the Legislative Service Bureau, which is all the attorneys. Most of them work their entire career writing bills, amendments for the House and the Senate and the governor.
Hmm.
And we'd call them scribes, I guess,
Hmm.
in other times in other places.
Hmm.
And at the end of the first term limits, okay, so we were all being broomed out at the same time. I'd worked with people who had been there for 20, 25 years, some 30. Some were experts in little arcane things of the world. And so they thought, well, we would really like to get their impressions. And they set up something like this. And I don't know where those things are. And they interviewed us. Um, some of it was about some things in specific, like where they had worked with the attorneys for on a particular, you know, unusual piece of legislation. Like one fellow, I know he was a expert on what the law is in Michigan and around the United States on preservation of wrecks, dive sites, you know, sinkings,
Hmm.
where people were going out because they had better equipment and things like that, and they were going out to these historical sites and stripping them. And he was people like, well, wait, if some we should have something a little more than just all everybody's in it for themselves. Let's strip it out like the pyramids, you know. Just like these are, you know, in some cases every all hands on deck died. There's more to this, and he spent years preserving those, and there are laws to preserve them. Now, whether or not being preserved or not, it would be always a challenge. I knew another fellow whose his passion was caring for animals, dogs, cats, and he actually weaseled the bill through to make wolf dog hybrids illegal in Michigan, which had its, you know, protractors, and people were very, oh no, we need to go back to the proto dog, and this is how we get that. And then we have the impassioned folks on the other side going, oh, we don't need dogs that have to be on log chains in order to keep our children safe. And so they had interviews. Long story short, comes to this. They said, John, what was the hardest thing that you had to encounter? And I said, the people.
Hmm.
They are they are brutal. They can they don't follow through. They disrespectful, angry. Well, they didn't expect that from me. And they said, well, what was the best thing that came out of this, all your experience here? I said, the people. They are wonderful. They are so generous,
Hmm.
so kind. They want to do the best for everyone.
Yeah.
And so that's always comes down to it. The technological things change, you know. I used to think my grandfather lived through, my grandfather on my mother's side lived through such a tremendous life. I mean, he used to take the family wagon and pick up kids all the way down to the school
Hmm.
because they didn't have school buses
Hmm.
in the 1890s. You don't have school buses, and he would take children. You know, he'd pick up all the kids and then park the horse, you know, and drop everybody off on the way back home. And before he died, he saw people, we think, walking on the moon. Of course, people question that today, but anyway, that's the expanse of his life. And I thought, holy smokes, look at the technological things. But
Hmm.
but the people have not changed.
Hmm.
The technology
Yeah.
has changed all around us, and it's speeds and paces is hard to keep your hands on. But the the people haven't changed. And so if with that perspective, I think I've been able to maybe understand some a little bit about what's going on in our local politics, and and put maybe some perspective on what folks bring to the table.
Well, that's a helpful perspective, John. And so, you know, a number of years have gone by since you served in as a state representative, and you've gone through some years of hardship recently, even health related and so forth. And so one of my questions that I would have of you is, So now recently you have been elected as the chairman of the Newaygo County Republican Party, and that's a big responsibility, and that's certainly in the middle of people, both the difficult side and the positive side. What was it that drew you into being willing to throw your hat back in the arena in a sense and be involved in that capacity?
Well, for a number of years, during the COVID and kind of my enforced Howard Hughes lifestyle from cancer, um, I was, people kept telling me how fractious the Republican Party meetings had become. And a few times over the years, people say, would you consider becoming chairman again? Again, not me. My wife has always been the chairperson
Mm-hmm,
before.
mm-hmm,
Becky was the chair. She was three times chairperson.
mm,
And I said, no, I'm not really interested. I mean, gosh, get back in. I don't want to go to places where people are so disrespectful. I used to get paid for that. Why would I want to do that for free? I mean, these people will take a slice off your back. They're angry, bitter folks. And I know why they are angry. I know why they are bitter. And I know they are being manipulated. I don't know if I can do that. But uh, public service is public service. And you do it because you say yes. And finally, I said yes. And kind of became chairperson of the county party, even though I had not been active as an active Republican. Although I have only I've only voted for very few Democrats, and kind of I used to one of my jobs after I was state representative. I used to run uh, political campaigns. I was first hired after I was state representative to be the representative to teach other representatives how to be a representative.
mm. I can see that.
We eliminated through term limits and the brilliance or the craziness of term limits. We eliminated we out of 110 representatives, we had 67 all brand new representatives, and all in one fell swoop.
Mm,
67.
mm-hmm,
They're all going to have some. They're going to be busy people.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
They're also usually the first year or two after you're elected in the old school. You would spend that first 2 years getting your network set up. Campaigns, you meet a lot of people. I probably met 5,000 people in my campaign. I represented 95,000. That meant there were 90,000 people out there. Some would have tremendous value and information for me
Mm-hmm,
to do my job well,
mm-hmm.
because I'm not an expert in boat licensing, those kind of things. I have no interest in that, but I know people who do,
Mm-hmm.
and you could get that information. And so it used to be in the old school, you'd spend 2 years going to, as a friend of mine, Mick Midoff, State Representative Mick Midoff, said, John, you just go to every rained out dogfight and you get to know people, and they'll help you. They'll help you. And the people will know that you want to help them, and they will be forthcoming. And that used to be that was the old style. When
Mm,
you were going to be a state representative for
mm-hmm.
whatever period of
Yeah.
time, if you were successful. But now, no, doors thrown right open. You're now Oh, why don't you chair appropriations? Why don't you, Bill, why don't you just come right in? Sit down here and be vice chair of appropriations. Learn to spend multiple billions of dollars responsibly. Learn the story behind all those responsible things that the government has done, how we got in the business we got into.
Mhm.
And so somebody had to be to teach them how to be a representative, uh, how to manage your staff, the little tricks of the
Mhm.
trade.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like, okay, you've been in office for 3 months. Go to at that time, email wasn't as big a deal as it is today, electronic communication. Go to your staff's desk, open the file drawer, and look for all the mail that's never either been opened or never been answered.
Mhm.
And they would go, what? Oh, yeah, go, time to manage.
Mhm.
Those are those things you would pass on from a person to a
Mhm. Mhm.
person. How much mail are you sending? Are you answering questions? You know, these were people were so brand new at everything, and we were into complex issues. So we would prepare a choose your own adventure letter for staff. It was like, I supported the following bill for the following reasons.
Mhm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Choose the ones you want, and we'll get and cut out. Those are the things I did. We bought a
Mhm.
brand new press from Germany. Our old press was from the 1940s, and it was wore out, and we had to get a German printing press in to print all the things that needed to go out. So we went standard on Microsoft products because the offices were set up around, well, Bill, you're a representative. You've been a representative for 20 years. You have your staff, these beautiful, nice ladies and gentlemen that work for you. Um, well, they all quit. They all quit. They went, well, the representative left. I've worked for Bill left. I've worked for Bill for 25 years or 30 years, and I'm retiring, and I quit. So the office brought in generally two 20-year-old people, 23, 24-year-old people with all the wonderful skills and wisdom and communication that we have at 23 or 24. Um, they took some training. We had a university. We call it the University of the House, and that's how I spent my first couple of years.
Wow, in that when we recognize when we think about the fact that the role that a representative have, it's huge, isn't it? It's immense, and without specific instruction, and sometimes you can actually get these young individuals that already think they know, and they're not very teachable.
Well, we have a societal problem. The societal problem, I believe, we we all are afflicted by this social media. I'm surprised I haven't checked my Facebook lately. Anyway, we're all afflicted by these things, and they're social media has made has taken a society that when we were young, yeah, when we were young, we just came out of World War II. Um, we were in a symmetrical society. uh, People went to work. They generally worked 1 of 3 shifts. Um, they generally had that kind of a job. If they worked on a farm, they would, make hay while the sun shines,
Hmm.
all that other stuff.
Hmm.
So, in Burger King, you know, McDonald's, da da da, special sauce, lettuce, cheese. I know for younger viewers, they will not know that McDonald's really pushed that everybody was going to get the exact same hamburger every time, and you were going to love it. And people did, and they do. But then that was talking to that generation and to those folks who were, they were in the army, they were working, they've been like my mother, a welder in Bay City,
Mm-hmm.
working on destroyers. They were just the war, the effort coming out of the Depression.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was, it's time. We'll buy, we'll get a house, get married, have some kids, go camping on the summertime for a
Mm-hmm.
week or two.
Mm-hmm.
Then we shifted. Burger King since this first, and they came out and said, "Well, you can have your burger your way."
Mm-hmm.
We had shifted from a asymmetrical to an asymmetrical society. Now all of a sudden, as this shift is occurring, we all used to just wait in line to get on a plane, or you just wait in line. Now everybody has to be first on the plane, even if you're the last person who came. You have no regard for the people in front of you. There's people who actually will fake themselves in a wheelchair so they get pushed into the plane first.
Mm-hmm.
And and this is just all this stuff. I think most people will find absolutely crazy. Um, social media has made everybody an expert. That same mindset that I'm the most important, and I clearly have the opinion that is more important than anyone else's, because, well, it is. And that mindset is only exacerbated and made more difficult um, today due to social media.
Mm-hmm.
That's a It's affected our local Republican Party to the point where people had said, you know, some pretty nasty things and put them on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And this is from one Republican to another Republican, so you already know you're already visualizing these are pretty similar people, um, similar in
Mm-hmm.
most
Mm-hmm.
respects. Uh, Conservative, we would say, probably some more conservative than others, but we already know we have a fellowship in being conservative in our outward appearance, perhaps, or our expenses or something. And yet, boy, the stories I had heard, they didn't reflect that at all. They reflected anger, and then people are being, I said earlier, being manipulated, and they are being manipulated by people who uh, they're being pushed into being in a clique, so a person can make money from a clique, and so the best way to motivate people, just can make people angry, make them feel insecure, make
Mm-hmm.
them feel. And there was a lot of insecurity in Michigan
Mm-hmm.
anyway because of the economic.
Do you, in terms of like the local politics and your your role, your leadership role, um, for one thing, the turnouts are much greater than they were just 5 or 10 years ago, aren't they? And in terms of when you go to a convention, the numbers are much larger, and I think that there's more of a sense of um, uh, individuals being willing to speak out and to speak up than 10, 15 years ago.
Oh, I would say that's right, Bill. And that is that it's hard. I guess back in the '90s, I know this ancient stuff. Back in the '90s, you could see that Michigan was going to have a, a very hard time of it. You'll have to remember that when we were children, there were more people in Detroit metropolitan area who were artists, uh, writers, television commercials for the auto companies. Every car had a big, thick brochure that was photographers. There was script writers, text writers. There were more people in the communications world in Detroit than there were in Hollywood.
Wow.
Now, designers designing automobiles, designing interiors, artists of a different sort, but purely creatives. All that. Detroit's dismantling was a hard fall, a hard fall. And it's it was going to cause tremendous disruptions, economic disruption, because a young fellow like our producer's age was no longer going to be able to find a job as a draftsman or something like that, CAD designer, work at a company for many, many years, work up through the ranks, become a managerial person, maybe make some pretty good money. His wife also having a job. Uh, Boy, between the two incomes, they were going to live outside the ring, first ring of suburbs. They were going to have nice jobs. And they could maybe even live out maybe in the countryside. They were going to be in good shape. All that was collapsed. Medical care, nobody wanted. Oh, throw in $10,000, Bill. We'll you know we'll give you 10,000, you get 10,000, and then whatever you have, that's what it'll take care of it. If it doesn't, well, it's horrible to be you. Um, all of those things hit Michigan hard, hard. We lost generations of children. Michigan is depopulating, and
And John, what would you say are what are some of the main reasons why that is?
well, the air conditioning in the South really
Hmm.
improved life in the South.
Hmm.
And then we started uh, the auto, the big three started moving out. They moved south. They had meetings with all their tier one, tier two suppliers and told them if you wanted to provide parts and services, you're going to build plants in the South. Um, some of that was they wanted just in time delivery. So you build a plant over in wherever, like BMW's plant down in Tuscaloosa. Then all the area around Tuscaloosa is going to be creating BMW parts. So we lost the parts. We lost, and for every auto job, we used to think it was 7 jobs for every auto job, that there would be 7 people employed for every person. So you'd have 1,000 persons working at an auto plant. You'd have 7,000 sub jobs to feed that person.
Mm-hmm.
Studies down in the mid 20 in like 2010. In Michigan, that was more like 23, because you lose the 1,000 auto jobs, you lose the 7,000 support jobs of making parts and pieces and everything. You lose the haircut barber, you lose the pizza parlor.
Yeah.
You lose the nice restaurant. You lose this, you lose that. Everything starts to collapse. Uh, and so when the auto plants, the people just don't, it didn't, we didn't have a very good understanding of what all that was going to do. Then they were bailing out. They were leaving. They were going trying to get the cheapest product out the door. They were in their chase for labor reductions and parts reductions. Michigan really we were totally unprepared.
And John, was there anything that really could have been done to try to halt that or reverse things before the momentum picked up?
After World War II, let's just throw 100 million people dead. Um, one person dying every 3 seconds from 1939 to 1945. Who knew what was going to, how are we going to do this? And these people, we've just gone through hatred to the point that it's impossible to imagine now at our ages.
Yeah.
And new people, that it became a philosophical notion that, well, we need an open society. We need to become more open. We need to be more inclusive. We need to be more understanding, more empathetic. And in that regard, it was hard become, to keep our little feudal auto town. And there were other auto towns around the world. We weren't alone. If you take Windsor, Detroit, that was the capital, if you wish, the state of cars in U.S., cars and trucks in the U.S. You went to Kobe, Japan, you found the same thing.
Mm.
You go 100 miles outside of Kobe, Japan, you had the state of cars, Japan and Korea.
Mm.
Go to Frankfurt, Germany, you had the state of autos in Germany. If they weren't political states, they were economic states. Well, it became very difficult to hold all that here, close to the vest in your own little state, because, well, why don't you have an auto plant in California?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you have an auto plant here? Hire some of our people, so they'll, and it made sense for them as well. And I don't think it could have changed.
Mm-hmm. I can see that as well. Mm-hmm. John, I was thinking back about some of your time as when you served as a state rep, and as you say, people don't really change over time, but one of the things that when we were working to pass legislation on at different times, so one of the things that we found in when you were still serving, and Speaker Perricone, um, right? Isn't that's his name, wasn't it? Yeah.
Mhm.
And but so one of the things that I found out is if you're trying to pass legislation and you before you even begin, if you don't have if you're Republican as we are, um, the governor, the legislature and the Senate and even the Supreme Court for that matter, if you don't really have it all basically your ducks lined up to begin with, and you have the energy and the vision to start legislative initiative, um, you're in pretty bad shape if you don't have at least a couple of those bodies behind you. Isn't that pretty much that's accurate, isn't it?
Yeah, we we've entered a real fractious uh, time.
Mm-hmm.
Term limits took Michigan out. Michigan was a cultural leader of the United States. a financial leader in the United States. People were financing their autos through the auto companies, and this was the second most expensive purchase other than their house. It was all located in Detroit. It's just we're a financial hub, a cultural hub. People were designing cars to appeal to people, so they had to be on top of their game. Some of the cars were to appeal to people who were frugal, and you had to have that. Some were expansive, and the car isn't a reflection of your of you. Anyway, it's a we've entered this. We Michigan was taken out by money not Terminus was not Michigan money. It was not. It's not. It was Southern Texas, Oklahoma money. Took Michigan out. It's because we turn over our people. We turn over our political people. They're just big pens or disposable razors. So they never really matriculate. They really don't really mature. They don't really get into it. I mean, right now, Mike Rogers is running for United States Senate on the Republican side. I've known Mike for a long time, but there's a whole life of history and understanding and knowledge, and I mean, here's a fella, an attorney, FBI agent, state senator, United States congressman, advisor to President Trump on FBI investigations. Yes, that makes a senator. That's perhaps that makes a senator. Just from experiential. It's hard to get that experience to pull together. Bill Schuette's another point. Gretchen Whitmer has had that kind. It's hard to develop that experience in a disposable legislative process. And so it becomes, it's hard to get people to even hang with you on a topic long. You get pulled this way and that.
Yeah.
And then if you get a topic that nobody wants to talk to you about, and decency, if you will, people don't want to address that.
Yeah. There's the whole matter of the continuity. On the one hand, I think of Don Van Single, for example. He served, I don't know, maybe 20 years or
20.
whatever, 20 years. And, I was much younger at that time, but he always seemed to be a person that was highly respected. And you can also go the other way and ruin that, by being somebody that knows how to win elections. That really doesn't mean well for your district, and people aren't even necessarily aware of that. At least the party that's trying to get him out of there, and it's hard to unseat them. So there are pluses and minuses to that, certainly.
Yeah, well, Don was a very measured measured person. I
Yeah.
guess
Yeah.
fellow was trained as an actuary. I think you probably expected it, right? But he's a very measured man, a very kindly man, and I think he was doing his last Memorial Day parade, and he had determined not to run, and I was running in his spot, and I was doing the Memorial Parade at the same time as a candidate.
So you followed him.
Right, and I was doing the Memorial Day parade as a candidate. So, but Don was up in the front waving goodbye to folks, and I was in back with carrying my yard sign, and I wasn't a very sophisticated candidate at that time, and John was coming back, and I was coming back, and we were talking, and this nice people came up to him, and of course at that time this may all sound surprising to people, but it was a husband and wife, and they were Caucasian, and they had a black child with them, African American
Mhm.
child. And this would be in the early 90s. And they said, Don, we are very, very pleased that with your efforts of your staff and you, we are a family.
Mhm.
And that is Don Van Sinkle to me.
That's special. I think he even used to sing, go to churches and sing spiritual songs, of course, and what a rarity that is as well. But John, you also served as a measured representative. You were very thoughtful, caring, and very responsive to your constituency. But that's got to be a high price to pay. You've already mentioned the file cabinets, or where you'd have a file and you'd have all these letters that you desired to answer. Um, that takes an immense amount of character to deal with those, or to train and teach, work together with the staff as to how to handle that incoming mail. But it must also be nearly depressing sometimes because of how overwhelming it can become.
Well, and every person will receive this. I'm not so sure how. I'm not so certain today that people are using how well we're responding.
Hmm.
State government has wrong. I know a lot of folks believe that there's just all kinds of state employees, but uh, starting with Engler and all the way through Snyder, uh, we probably have half the state employees that we
Hmm.
used to have. And
Is that because of budget?
the communication tools,
Okay.
number
Yeah.
one. I mean, nobody has a secretary.
Hmm. Hmm.
Everybody does their own secretarial work. Um, for the most part, nobody has been somebody producing a letter for them anymore.
Hmm.
Do it yourself.
Really? Yeah.
Um, so you have these communication tools. People are texting. They're up to speed, um, and so that affects the how quickly you can get answers for people.
Hmm. Hmm.
I want to look it up. I mean,
Hmm.
I, I mean, if you really want to know, you can Google it up faster, or you can Alexa or whatever
Hmm.
faster
Good point.
than to. I'll spend the time and I'll call my state representative Joe Fox or my senator Rick Outman and ask them, "Oh, how about this?" Or I can do my own research.
Hmm.
Uh, so things have changed
Hmm.
dramatically,
Yeah.
dramatically.
Yeah.
But you still need an advocate, and that's where the job really comes to fruition. People, I always used to say that we had to remember that by the time a person thought enough about their problem, that they were going to call an office in Lansing and talk to somebody on the
Hmm.
phone that they did not know
Hmm.
and share details about their life
Hmm.
that, quite frankly, you, by the grace of God,
Hmm.
no one should go through some of the things people have to encounter.
Hmm.
You have to, you have to do your best for those folks.
Hmm.
I mean, it's it's hard to relate the the intensity people's lives will fall completely apart. I I don't want to talk about it in any individuals, but I mean some folks I just wonder, you just wonder how they could pick up the foot to put it down in front of the other foot the next day.
Mm-hmm.
It's we related earlier about the children, pictures of children who had been abused, and how that can impact everybody in an office. Not that we shared everything like you were some voyeur, but at least between myself and Gloria Carnicum at the time, um, we would both have to look at how where who how we what can we do here?
Mm-hmm.
What can the state do here?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Child Protective Services, all the rest, and those laws have become much more intense.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they can really impact people, impact their lives, impact a poor child's life. Knowing there's no good outcomes. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, Judge Eggleston used to be the our probate court judge, family court now, and after him, Graydon. They could they would be better people to talk about that, but there are
Mm-hmm.
virtually no good outcomes can come from this,
Mm-hmm.
uh, other than the fact that maybe save this child.
Yeah. 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 What a high level of difficulty. Having myself gone to committee hearings and so forth, and I'm saying, into the 90s anyway, and well, even later than that, maybe nearly 2000 in the other legislative piece that we talked about, trying to regulate sex shops. But you would also see people on the same side of the aisle as yourself, um, as a number of people didn't seem all that competent or that able to communicate or to receive information or carrying a response. And then I would see those on the other side of the aisle in terms of some of the hearings, and it was like especially when you're dealing with maybe a matter of sex shops and coverings and hours of operation that were just cynical. And so, I mean, you saw that kind of stuff, the dichotomy, the disappointments of those on your side of the aisle and the other side of the aisle. And this question is all leading up to, so uh, does our does our system of government, is it able to function um, after all these years and the degradation and the decline um, in our culture?
Well, first and foremost, I used to describe the state house as 110 people. So imagine you went to Walmart on a Saturday morning. They just opened the doors. And you took the first 110 people and put them in the room. And then you bring in the most complicated problems, complexities, social, economic, political, and you throw them in front of these 110 people. They're just random 110 people chosen by 95,000 or 100,000 people in their communities, who virtually most of those people have no idea who they were. They have no idea of their experiences. They have no idea of their backgrounds. This isn't the Jeffersonian model of everybody walks 6 miles to vote. I mean, it knows everybody on the way in and knows everybody on the way out. That's not what we have. So you get these complex problems. Some people are more capable of addressing some.
Mm-hmm.
They may be an electrician. Oh, good. We've got an electrician. We've got an electrician bill here. Oh, another person may be a farmer. Oh, agricultural waste. Well, we've got that bill here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so you pick up a doctor, you pick up a lawyer or two, you pick up a couple of school teachers, and you kind of go to those kind of folks who have those experiences. And this is where, if we have a problem, our problem exists in the ability to have the patience to communicate. and we don't like to listen any longer.
Mhm.
We all have become experts, and just ask me. I can become an expert very quickly. Number one, we have investigatory tools that nobody has ever had.
Mhm.
We have communication tool. This little device here, which what costs, somebody will tell you it costs 50 and $100. Last time I looked at it, mostly plastic, a few little components. This little camera here can't cost that much, really. I figure this thing's worth about $25. What do you think, Mr. Producer? So, but this little thing has changed the world. I was once with a Federal Reserve, uh, uh, one of the Fed governors, and he was, he was talking about how, well, young people are not buying homes, but this is just temporary. And we'll come back, this is after the '08 recession, and this is just temporary. He's had it all in his mind.
Mhm.
And I was sitting at the table with bankers from around Michigan, and I said, no, this has changed everything.
Mm.
He says, well, how do you mean that? They'll come around. I said, oh, yeah, they'll come around. When they're about 32, 35, they'll come around. They'll be thinking about buying a house. But the ages 22 to 35, it's, hey, I got this new job and it's over in Seattle. Why don't you come on out? Why don't you come on out here? Well, I don't know. Should I go out there? My parents and everything. No, we FaceTime all the time anyway. What's the difference if I'm FaceTiming from over here or over there? It's the same FaceTime. And why would I want to be burdened with a mortgage, a house? How am I going to get rid of a house if I want to take advantage of
Mhm.
all this exciting new life that we get to have, Bill? My goodness, somebody's going to call you up and say, hey, I got a new job down in California. Oh, God, the weather's great. Thank the Lord I got out of here, this ice and snow. And then somebody calls up again and said, hey, I got a job in Escanaba. Oh, great. I love the snowmobile. Who knows? This has made people the ability to stay in touch with their families and be so mobile in a mobile time in life where your
Mm.
health, your inquisitiveness is at a
Mhm.
high point. These these things have changed the world.
Mhm.
Changed the world.
Yeah.
I a long time ago I saw they were taking this ship. It was in India. I don't know if you've ever known about. It's called shipwrecking.
Hmm.
They take old ships and they do it in India because the environmental controls are what they are. And they take the ship out in the middle of the harbor and they start running that ship as fast as they can get it to beach itself up on the sand.
Hmm.
Now, the reason for this is, and then they can cut in with the cutting torches and everything and start stripping it all away, recycling. And they can do it in India in the ocean because any of the oils and everything gets going in the
Hmm.
water and
No problem.
somebody else's problem.
Yeah.
God's problem. God's figured out how to remove all that stuff over time. Well, I'm watching this thing, and all the Indian workers have their phone up like this.
Hmm.
They're all filming it. And I thought, all right, I'm an American. I live in a maybe a naive life. I'm not well traveled. I don't go to India on a daily basis or a weekly, whatever. I travel around the U.S. a bit. But here they all had cameras,
Hmm.
camera phones. People in India don't make a lot of money,
Yeah.
yet they all had camera phones, and
Mhm.
they were all taking that
Mhm.
ex- experience. They were all taking that experience and were able to provide that to their friends and their relatives, and they're going to do the same thing we do
Mm-hmm.
with all that.
Right.
And I thought to myself, we're more in a line. We are so aligned
Mm-hmm.
in our activities or proclivities.
Mm-hmm.
That can be good. And as you said, with earlier,
Mm-hmm.
when you're trying to address pornography, I
Yeah.
mean, it's just like it's. I literally was in the doctor's office, and they no longer put. I used to watch the Food Network when I was going through chemo, and they'd have the Food Network or the HGTV or
Mm-hmm.
something. You're sitting there waiting to get your chemo treatment, and now they have a sign. We no longer have a phone. We no longer have the TV on.
Hmm.
We encourage you to use your own device, but please be respectful of the people around you
Hmm.
with what you put on your device. I looked at that and I went, they got tired of people complaining
Hmm.
about the TV show that they didn't want to watch, so they no longer provide TV for anyone. But you all have your own phone,
Mm-hmm.
but please keep the porno off.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, who would have thought?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Who would have thought? I've just recently completed chemo. We're already making these changes, and it's just like the speed of change, the speed of.
Yeah.
There was a bill, oh, quite a number of years ago. There was a bill, and I think it was somebody wanted to regulate what people could put on their car TVs. The little TVs in the
Mm-hmm.
back seats for your kids. DVD players. Well, I guess somebody must have been driving down the road with porn shop DVD
Hmm.
in the on the players.
Yeah.
This representative saw such and thought there ought to be a law. People should be able. And I thought, oh, that was just the DVD thing. That was before
Mm-hmm.
instantaneous connections.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, how are you going to do that? How are if people intrinsically
Yeah.
don't know? No, you
Mm-hmm.
don't put something like that on your phone
Mm-hmm.
in a public place. How about a little decency?
Mm-hmm.
If I can borrow Bill's words, how about a little decency?
Yeah.
How did we miss that?
Mm-hmm.
Our generation screwed it up.
Mm-hmm.
How did we miss? No, you don't beat up on little children. You don't
Yeah.
abuse children.
Yeah.
You certainly don't bring them in from other countries to beat up on them and abuse them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That we have
Mm-hmm.
800 bases around the world, and we hire soldiers to go to those bases. 23 countries of 23 countries where we have those bases are countries that practice slavery.
Mm-hmm.
We hire African American soldiers to protect the governments of slaveholding nations. Obama was actually a big one for putting these units in some of these countries. And I thought, how did we get to the point where we are so disconnected from reality, so so it's just me, that we can talk about, oh, we ought to have reparations, we ought to do this, we ought to do that, we ought to do this because of slavery, and yet send the children of those people as soldiers to protect governments that enslave people.
Mm. Yeah.
How did we miss that?
Hmm.
That seems like pretty basic education.
Hmm.
Pretty basic education.
Right.
So what part of our educational process, Bill, have we left behind?
Hmm.
Not just schools,
Right.
but
Right.
because you can't put everything out of
Right.
school. As a matter of fact, the last thing you want to do is put everything out of school
Hmm.
because then you get what we have.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't,
Yeah.
to any school teachers out there, I hold you in great respect. Great respect. You're asked to do way too much and you're supported not enough.
You know, as we move towards closing, we could go into talking about AI, but I think we best not because it is such a massive issue that is coming, and we've talked a great deal about the massive changes that we are seeing, and that's going to also be something that we can't even begin to imagine how far and wide that's going to go. But as I say, as we move towards closing, um, you know, one of the things in our earlier discussion, we were talking about an experience that you've had, and you've had some health issues within your family, and as you say, you know, one way or another, given enough time, we all are going to experience some hardships and difficulties. But I was just really moved if you can recall how you basically said this when you were on what appeared to be death row or die, you know, not I shouldn't use that terminology, should I? But in a state of dying, um, and yet your experience when you were going through that and how you were approached, I think that that's very very significant.
Well, it's, yeah, that's my nursing team came and asked me, how is it that you feel you don't seem to have any anxiety
Hmm.
and you didn't seem like you were worried about things? And I said, no, no, I'm not. I'm a, and they were all Christian ladies.
Yeah.
I knew that. You, you just know. They were all Christian
Hmm.
ladies
Hmm.
and wonderful, wonderful people. And I said, no, I don't have any concerns. I am, I don't know. I don't know if I will meet God today or meet somebody else tomorrow or maybe another point in time in eternity. I don't know all of that. But I do know that I am surrounded by the blood of Christ as an armor, my protector, and when I am to be judged for all those things I admitted to do that
Hmm.
I should have done, and all those things I knew what I was doing and did them wrong. Um, for all of that, that Christ provided my my price,
Hmm.
and so I don't have a concern. I don't have a concern. This is part and parcel of living.
You feel amply prepared in
Yes, I
you know,
do.
I'm sorry I didn't know about either one of your health issues because I really care about you both. You and I haven't had a lot of conversations, but I always deeply appreciated your who you were and your genuineness and your love for your love for people, as wicked as people are oftentimes, as you stated.
Well,
Hmm.
you know, Christ showed us, if I could fall into your
Hmm.
domain, and I
Hmm.
don't really want to charge into your domain.
Oh, you're doing great.
You that's, but Christ showed us when you look
Hmm.
at, and I've surely
Mm.
no level of but when the part, you know,
Mhm.
I often go to sleep. I use different things to go to sleep,
Mhm.
to remind me of faith. And first off, you got to, I remind myself that really wasn't, it's just
Mhm.
dusty roads and paths.
Mhm. Mhm.
Wandering around dusty roads and
Mhm.
paths to this little cluster and that little cluster, gathering people together. And of course, the disciples would be out and they would be gatherers, gathering people. Come, listen,
Mhm.
come.
Mhm.
Put down your
Yeah.
work, Bill.
Yeah.
Come and listen,
Yeah.
come and listen. They were pullers,
Mhm.
pulling people off the
Yeah.
boats. No, come, listen, listen. Can you imagine this, what this was? And yet at the same time, he'd wander into a little town and go to the well, which was be pretty much Main Street, corner of
Mhm.
under the stoplight
Mhm.
where people would gather and talk with some people who, well, the woman at the well,
Mhm.
oh yeah, I understand. You've had five husbands.
Yeah. Yeah.
I understand.
Mhm.
There's more to your life.
Yeah.
There's a lot to your life,
Yeah.
I know, and I
Yeah.
understand,
Yeah.
and I'm willing. He he set a mark.
Mhm.
God set a mark for us of what we're to
Mhm.
do.
Mhm.
And
And that's impacted you, obviously. Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm yeah, it's we're to uphold those virtues.
Mhm. Mhm.
We're knowing full well.
Mhm.
I tried to explain it to a fellow I was interviewing for a job, and he said, "Well, you were an orchardist for 25 years." I said, "Yeah, I got fairly good at it." He said, "What were the challenges of being an orchardist?" I said, "Well, it comes down to this. You go out every day to make the perfect apple, and you know you're going to fail.
Mm. Yes. That's cool.
And that's life.
Mhm.
That's life.
Mhm.
You're going to set out, Bill.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're going to try to do the best you can
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
Then know full well you're going to
Mhm.
fail."
Yeah. That's beautiful. I like that a lot. Would you mind closing us in prayer?
Oh, yes. I don't mind at all.
Okay, please do. Thank you.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for the creation that surrounds us.
Mm.
We are to uphold that, and we are to be quizzical and learn to understand that creation. We are to honor it, but not as a snow globe, but to be a part of it, to understand it, thrive in it, have creation thrive around us.
Mhm.
We thank you for that. We thank you for your inspiration.
Mm.
We thank you for our creation and the dynamics of each and every person, flesh and spirit. We thank you for this conversation between one of the more spiritual people I know, Bill Johnson, and his view of the world, very, very pure. And that has creates many challenges for Bill. And I want you, I would request, Lord, that you be with Bill and Jan. Thank you for this time together, Lord. We thank you for the birth,
Mhm.
life, and death of Jesus Christ and salvation for all of us.
Mhm.
May we turn our hearts toward those in needs and be mindful of the needs of those folks.
Mm.
In Jesus' name we pray, amen.